breast tissue better without having to take additional x-rays. Some early stages of cancer are difficult to detect and therefore difficult to treat. But doctors in Philadelphia are working to redefine an early stage of breast cancer. The goal, to make sure women receive an accurate diagnosis.
Area, it's one of those cases that in retrospect you can see something there in 98.
At this weekly meeting, specialists are reviewing 6 cases of breast cancer. They're complicated cases, many from doctors or patients seeking second opinions. Patients like 74-year-old Frances Levin.
He saw that and he says you might as well have a mastectomy because it will turn into cancer maybe a year later.
Frances and her husband then came to Fox Chase's Breast Cancer Evaluation Center to look at other options.
It's really unnecessary to make an immediate decision, and you'll hear this message go out over and over again to women. Don't panic.
The presence of high-grade invasive ductal carcinoma.
But a recent study has raised concerns among breast cancer patients. The study showed that at one institution, more than 80% of cases were misdiagnosed as microinvasive breast cancer, an early stage of the disease which is hard to identify.
The most controversial cases are actually the cases of breast cancers that are very small because you don't have that much tissue to work with.
Doctors say the most important questions for a woman to ask are what kind of breast cancer is it, what stage is it in, what kind of surgery is required, and what is the risk of reoccurrence. As Frances learned, make sure you get a second opinion.
I didn't need a mastectomy. I need radiation.
Dr. Goldstein stressed it is not uncommon to get a second opinion on test results. Many specialized centers will accept test results from other hospitals to review as a backup. Well, if you have problems with your vision, you might want to hit the salad bar. Researchers say leafy greens can help protect and even improve your vision. Dark green vegetables are rich in the antioxidant lutein. Lutein can protect the eye from macular degeneration, a disease that affects 1/3 of elderly adults. Some vegetables that are high in lutein include spinach, kale, and collard greens. And those are today's vital signs. Cameron?
Thank you, Kimberly. Coming up next, a look at how you can purchase your dream home even if you don't have enough money for the down payment. Also ahead tonight, the results of an alarming new study. Tonight at 6, we'll see why young girls who are sexually active have a greater risk of developing cancer. Stay with us. Some lenders are offering to help make that American dream a reality without any down payment. Andrew Leckie explains.
Getting ready for work is less of a chore these days for Anton Maris. The money he earns is going toward his new condominium.
Well, I'll tell you, it's fantastic to finally be a property owner.
Maris was tired of renting but had no cash for a down payment, so he financed 100% of his new condo.
Because of using my credit wisely, I was able to get into 100% financing without a problem.
Zero down financing used to be only available to veterans, but now many lenders are offering it to anyone who qualifies. Your credit report will determine if you're worth the risk.
And the normal credit score for the very best 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is a score of 620. And most of these zero down loan programs want you to have somewhere around 680.
Even if you do qualify for a zero down loan, you'll still need some cash to move into your dream house. Closing costs, which range from 3 to 8% of the mortgage, will come out of your pocket. The disadvantage of zero down is a higher monthly mortgage payment. For example, if you put 20% down on a $240,000 house, your monthly payment will be roughly $1,400. A zero down loan is riskier for the lender, so you may pay a higher interest rate and face a $1,900 a month payment.
What consumers have to be careful of is not to put themselves in a position that we call, being house poor, where everything you have goes into your house payment.
When it came time for Maris to do the math, 0 was the right number. I'm Andrew Leckie.
Coming up tonight on News Channel 12 at 6, we have new information on a sexual harassment lawsuit involving the Forsyth County Sheriff's Department and Sheriff Ron Barker. An appeals court has come back with a ruling. We'll let you know what happened. Plus, kids having sex is alarming itself, but now a new report says young girls are putting their lives in danger. Tonight in Connecting with Kids, why sexually active girls are more at risk of getting cancer. Plus, our coverage continues on the Concorde jetliner that crashed near Paris. News Channel 12 at 6 is just minutes away. Well, she could be one of the biggest stars of the Summer Games in Sydney.
High hopes. Coming up next, a look at one of North Carolina's athletes in her Olympic quest.
As some of you have heard on the commercials, Mrs. Jones, she'll be trying to make history in Sydney this coming fall. Marion Jones should be familiar to Tar Heel fans. She played on Carolina's ACC championship basketball team in 1997. But track and field is her expertise now. At the recent trials, she won the 100 and 200 meters and the long jump. Along with relay, she has a chance to win 5 gold medals in Sydney.
Coming to the U.S. trials and getting through and making the team in all 3 events and winning all 3 events, you know, it's tiresome.
But she seems most vulnerable at the long jump. That, however, drives her even more.
4 gold medals would just be fine, and I tell them that, you know, I've had a taste at jumping far, and I know I can do it again and do it consistently. And I really couldn't live with myself if I went to Sydney and I didn't jump, knowing that I had a chance to win that gold medal.
Jones's jumping style and form have been criticized, and justly when she fouled on her first 2 attempts at the trials. But on the final jump, the one she had to have to qualify, she showed perfect form and handled the pressure as well, similar to the expectations of her in Sydney. But Jones says it's not the records that are driving her.
I think every day going into practice, knowing in my heart that I could jump far and I could run very fast, that's what motivates me.
And coming up in the next hour, the newest Carolina Panther and an excursion into the highlight zone with Dale Earnhardt and Kyle Petty.
All right,
Don't
go
you just
Mrs. Jones.
Love watching her run and
yeah.
jump. It's beautiful.
She'll end up on the Wheaties box, I bet, someday.
Probably so.
Well, still to come, a pastry lover's dream come true.
Up next, the pie that fed 4,000 people.
Slowly moved a portable oven over the tasty concoction. The jumbo pastry contained a whopping 1,300 pounds of flour, over 1,000 pounds of onions, and 400 pounds of tuna. Well, it was cut into more than 4,000 pieces and then devoured by a very hungry crowd.
Charlie Tuna would be proud.
Looks good. More than Charlie and a couple of his friends going into that. Well, thank you for joining us for News Channel 12 at 5:30. I'm Cameron Kent.
And I'm Kimberly Van Scoy. News Channel 12 at 6 starts right now.
A jetliner goes up in flames after crashing near Paris. We'll have the latest on the Concorde crash that left no survivors.
It makes you hard-hearted, and eventually you get tired of it and you just give up.
Child support, it's a system that frustrates thousands, and one Piedmont Triad woman is on a crusade to change it.
We're not against the program by any means. We just don't think it belongs there.
A home that helps substance abusers isn't getting much help from the community. Tonight, meet a woman who says the Piedmont Triad facility has given her a reason to live. And an alarming report when it comes to kids having sex. Young, sexually active girls are more susceptible to cancer. News Channel 12 at 6 starts right now.
From WXII, the station for complete local coverage of the Piedmont Triad. This is News Channel 12 at 6 o'clock.
Good evening and thanks for joining us at 6 o'clock. I'm Cameron Kent.
And I'm Kimberly Van Scoy. We are following 2 top stories tonight. One, the fatal Concorde crash outside of Paris earlier today.
And the other, some new information about a sexual harassment lawsuit involving Forsyth County Sheriff Ron Barker. We begin tonight with Sheriff Barker's legal fight with a former secretary in his department. Bill O'Neill joins us with the latest. What have you learned?
Well, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals has cleared the way for Ron Barker to stand trial for his role in that sexual harassment case. The court has denied Barker's claim of government immunity from prosecution. The court also affirmed last year's $260,000 verdict against the sheriff's chief deputy, Robert Blakely. Former Sheriff Secretary Donna Carter will now be able to sue Ron Barker in federal court. She claims that the sheriff knew his top aide sexually harassed her and did nothing about it. Last year, a federal jury in Greensboro found that Blakely groped and propositioned Carter repeatedly from 1991 through 1995.
The case against Sheriff Barker is based on the fact that he's a top man, and as a top man, he makes decisions that affect the public. And when he put Blakely into his position of power as a second man in the department, he enabled Blakely to do what he had done before, and that is to commit sexual harassment against employees.
Carter's attorney says it could be early next year before the case against Sheriff Barker goes to trial. We tried to contact the sheriff late this afternoon, but a spokesman told us he's out of town.
Bill, how much money is at stake, and if the sheriff were to lose, who would be responsible for paying it?
Well, there's no exact dollar amount here, but it could be huge. The sheriff does have some kind of insurance that would protect him against some of the liability, but if this thing is settled, either in court or outside of court, taxpayers of Forsyth County could end up paying thousands of dollars in this case.
All right, we'll keep following it. Thank you, Bill.
Now to our other top story tonight, our continuing coverage of the deadly Concorde crash just outside of Paris. 113 people died when the jetliner slammed into a hotel. Witnesses say the jetliner flamed out at an altitude of 200 feet with its nose up and, quote, went down in a huge fireball and crashed into a nearly empty hotel in a suburb just north of Paris. The plane was chartered by a German company. The flight was due to arrive at New York's Kennedy Airport Tuesday afternoon. The passengers were then going to take a sea cruise that included stops in Nassau and Havana, Cuba, and passage through the Panama Canal. And they were going to arrive in Manta on August 8th. The five-star luxury cruise liner can carry as many as 520 passengers. The Concorde flies at twice the speed of sound. That's almost 1,200 miles an hour, or more than Mach 2. It can cross the Atlantic in 3.5 hours. That's twice as fast as a normal jet. It has a takeoff speed of 250 miles per hour and a landing speed of 180 miles an hour, and it only seats 100 passengers. And because a round-trip ticket cost about $10,000, the flights are popular with celebrities, world-class athletes, and the very rich. Have said in the past that their current fleet is fit to fly safely until 2007. Industry experts say the planes have some of the best pilots in the world, and the engineers keep the planes in the best possible condition. Now here's a look at some more information about the Concorde. The only real scare came in 1979. That is when a bad landing blew out a plane's tires. That led to a design modification. On January 29th and 30th of this year, a Concorde aircraft made an emergency landing. A cockpit alarm sounded, warning of a fire in the rear cargo hold. Engineers, however, couldn't find any problems. And yesterday, British Airways engineers found 2-inch cracks in the rear wings of its Concorde jetliners. All but one of the planes is still in service. The company pulled one plane because the crack got bigger. Now, engineers think the plane will be back in the air by September. And stay with News Channel 12 for continuing coverage of the crash. First on Nightly News with Tom Brokaw at 7. A special dateline in girls have sex. It actually increases the chance of cervical cancer later in life. Tonight in Connecting with Kids, Margaret Johnson looks at the dangers girls may be opening themselves up to.
15-year-old Caitlin is casual and open when she talks about losing her virginity at 14.
It's just something that just came about and just happened.
And sex happens often for this girl who is 16 and wishes to remain anonymous.
I've just met people and then, like, gotten drunk, actually, and made mistakes of, like, having sex with them.
Both girls say they know all about the risk of sexually transmitted diseases and use protection, but neither had ever heard this, that the early onset of sexual activity and the frequency of sex before the age of 16 increases the risk of cervical cancer later in life.
No, I didn't know about that.
Experts say that in girls under the age of 16, the tissue of the cervix is still developing, making it more susceptible to a virus, which can lead to cervical cancer and a slew of other diseases. Linda Carter works with teens in the Piedmont Triad.
And how serious is this, the potential for cervical cancer?
Well, very serious. Cervical cancer, depending on how early it's detected. If it's not detected early, it can cause death.
Carter says cervical cancer can be easily treated if caught early. That's why she says it's critical for women and girls to get an annual pap smear once they're sexually active. She fears condoms may be giving some girls a false sense of security.
But a lot of times condoms aren't used appropriately. A lot of times condoms can bust or condoms can come off. So it still does promote risk for early sexual activity, not to mention teen pregnancy. Adolescents are not ready for being parents, and many adolescents as young as 10 in our community are becoming pregnant day after day.
According to the American Cancer Society, smoking also increases the risk of cervical cancer, though it is not known exactly how or why. I'm Margaret Johnson, Connecting with Kids. Back to you.
Experts say that parents can help their kids set goals early on, and that may help eliminate the urge for early sex. On Thursday, we are going to talk about what and how much a child should be told about a parent with a serious illness. And to learn more about issues facing kids, log on to our website at WXII.com and click on the Connecting with Kids icon.
Last couple days has been like living in London.
I know.
How long are these cooler temperatures going to last?
John Wendell is up next with your Super Doppler 12 forecast.
Also ahead tonight, one presidential candidate's on his way to North Carolina, while the other one makes a major announcement.
I'm Michael Gargiulo in Washington. George W. Bush picks a running mate. How will this affect the race for the White House? That story coming up on News Channel.
Nota Begay was baptized in a British Open burn. He escaped, but it turned to a Nota bogey. Kari Webb watered down her U.S. Open victory, the margin at least a foot. If imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Lance Armstrong has to be honored by Billy the Marlin's victory ride. Now baseball, and catch these if you can. Here's one that the fan and the player both caught. Hey, you see everything on TV these days, from Mark McGuire to Dale Earnhardt and Kyle Petty helping bake a tart.
Can you go in the refrigerator and get some eggs?
I don't think we have any more eggs.
Oh, well.
I'll just take Dale's helmet and go get some. I'm faster, man. Why do you do that?
Like
You just...
that,
he thinks he's tough stuff just because he's won like 7 championships and 75 races or something. I don't know.
And how many races have you won?
8. Wow, that's a lot less than 75. How many championships? Here's the eggs.
Hey, you want to see fast? It's Steve Park's crewman trying to run down a runaway tire. Who's the most popular person in baseball? Might be this bat boy in Chicago.
They'll never wash that arm again. Now, what do you do with that? Do you think those girls know that he's 35 years old? Oh. He's old enough to be your father.
15 seconds of fame, only in the highlight zone.
Chaperoning my daughters to the next baseball.
Good idea.
Upper deck, yeah. Thanks, Dan.
We'll be right back.
Every road, every town, every day. News Channel 12 is here in Davidson County, telling all sides of the story. Every street, every community, every day. That's our commitment to you. For complete local coverage of Davidson County, depend on News Channel 12.